Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. The group stage draw has happened. The group stage draw is here for both the All-Ireland Football Championship and the Tailteann Cup. Just took place, obviously, on YouTube on GA Go. I was actually looking on the GA Go page and couldn't find it, but I did come across it eventually. It was on YouTube anyway. The draw has just happened. It's thrown up some very interesting toys, and let's just crack on and get straight into it and see what the draw is. So the Tailteann Cup draw was done first. It was in Group 1, Kildare, Leitrim, Longford, Waterford. Group 2, Sligo, Antrim, Wexford, Tipperary. Group 3, Fermanagh, Laois, Wicklow and Carlow. And Group 4, Down, Offaly, Limerick and London. Definitely some interesting games in there. I think Kildare will be fairly happy with that group in terms of they'll beat Waterford. We obviously know that. Kildare versus Leitrim will be interesting, maybe not bad for if you're a Leitrim fan as well. I think Leitrim will be fairly happy in terms of getting out of that group. And look, could Leitrim even beat Kildare given how much Kildare have struggled this year? Not exactly impossible. Group 2, Sligo, Antrim, Wexford, Tipperary. It's an interesting one because Wexford are coming in with a huge amount of form. Sligo are certainly one of the favourites. Antrim got to the semi-finals last year, but you'd be looking at Sligo and Wexford to get out of that group in terms of 1 and 2. Antrim maybe number 3, but look, we'll obviously do a in-depth predictions for the Tailteann Cup and everything else maybe in a few days time. Actually, I'm not too sure when the first round of these games actually are. Group 3 though, I think is the most interesting. Fermanagh, Laois, Wicklow and Carlow. Like, that is a Tailteann Cup group of death if I've ever seen one. You feel sorry for poor Carlow there. Like, they got to the quarterfinals of the Tailteann Cup last year. They've pulled off a couple of surprises and shocks in the last few years. I can't see it this time around, though. Fermanagh should be one of the favourites. I think Laois will definitely be in the conversation as well. And look, after what Wicklow done in Leinster, beating Westmeath, nearly beating Kildare, I think they'll be, a strong team to get out of there. So you'd expect, to be fair, I'd nearly expect Fermanagh, Laois and Wicklow to all get out of that group, but potentially all then progress in their next game. You could be looking at like the top 5, top 6 teams in the whole competition, all in the one group there. Group 4, Down, Offaly, Limerick and London. You would expect Down and Offaly to progress through. Maybe an opportunity for London to get in as a third place team there, given the fact that Limerick have very much been in free fall. There is plenty of comments flying in there. We'll get to them in just a moment. But this is probably the one that most people were interested in, the All-Ireland Football Championship group stage draw. So in Group 1, we've got the Connacht winners, the Ulster runner-up, Derry and Westmeath. Group 2, we've got the Leinster winners, which I think we know will be Dublin. The Connacht runners-up, Roscommon and Cavan. And then in Group 3, we've got the Ulster winners, the Munster runner-up, Tyrone and Cork. Group 4, Munster winners, Leinster runner-up, Monaghan and Meath. So, look, it's interesting. Group 1, like, that does look like the sort of group of death, you would say, just with the fact that Derry are obviously a seed 3 team. So that kind of makes it interesting. Kind of interesting, like, if you're a Mayo or a Galway fan, would you nearly actually be better losing the Connacht final, potentially? I know then you'll get Dublin, but I think it's nearly an easier draw and nearly an easier group. Like, Roscommon are obviously not in great form right now. I think you'd rather Roscommon than Derry, I'd imagine. Westmeath and Cavan are probably fairly even. It is an interesting one. Maybe, though, you wouldn't fear the Ulster runners-up in the same way you'd fear a Dublin. But it is an interesting one, no doubt about that. And as a Dublin fan, looking at Group 2 there, like, you've got the Leinster winners, Connacht runners-up, could be Dublin Mayo, maybe Dublin Galway. Do you know what would be very interesting, actually? We'll take this off the screen maybe just for a moment. If it is Dublin and Mayo, where is the neutral stadium going to be? Because for those of you who don't know, I'll throw it back up again. How the fixtures will work is, so the Seed 1 and Seed 2 will be in a neutral venue. Seed 1 versus Seed 3, so i.e., the Connacht winners versus Derry, Dublin versus Roscommon, the Ulster winners versus Tyrone, and Munster winners, which we know will be Kerry. So the why did that go off the screen? I didn't do that. the seed 1 teams there will be at home in that fixture. So we're going to get Dublin and Roscommon again, unfortunately, which I am actually quite disappointed about, because I don't like seeing the same fixtures over and over. It is something that annoys me. We get enough of it as a Dublin fan, to be fair, and I don't think Roscommon will be too happy about that either. And then the bottom teams there, seed 4 teams, will get a home fixture against the seed 1 team. So Westmeath will play the Connacht champions at home. Cavan will play Dublin at home. Cork will play the Ulster winners at home, and Meath will play the Munster winners at home. So what that basically does mean, though, is with the seed 1 playing the seed 2, like if it is Dublin Mayo or even Dublin Galway, where is that neutral venue going to be? It's going to be very, very interesting to see, because Dublin Mayo, like, you know, like that could probably have 50,000 of that potentially. So what venue do you put it in? Is the GAA going to bottle it and put it in Croke Park? It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, just running back through it again. The Ulster winners, Munster runner-up, Tyrone Cork, Munster winners, Leinster runner-up, Monaghan Meath. So some interesting ones, potentially very easy group there for Kerry, you would say. You'd imagine they'll be clear. So then, you know, you'll have the Leinster runners-up, which will probably be Louth. So Kerry should absolutely cruise to the group there. But between Louth, Monaghan and Meath, you know, like that's very even. And you could arguably predict any one of them 3 to get into second place, potentially. For Cork, they'll be fairly happy as well. Potentially clear going in there. Not bad for Tyrone either, you would say. So yeah, interesting stuff altogether there. We'll run through some comments here. Gaelic Guy says Kerry couldn't have gotten it easier. Yeah, very, very handy draw for Kerry. And I think, you know, like as a Dublin fan, and I think Kerry fans will probably feel the same, you want at least 1 or 2 tests in there, because I think if you have 1 or 2 tests, you know, you can build on that going into the quarterfinals. You know, I don't think Kerry put in their performance like they did against Tyrone if they didn't get bet by Mayo in the group stages. I think that was a massive reality check moment for them. I think Dublin's draw, even with Roscommon, was huge for them before going into, you know, their quarterfinal versus Mayo. So I think you want a test, and will Kerry get a significant test out of Monaghan, Meath or Louth? Maybe Monaghan potentially, but they'll have that game at home as well. So yeah, it's an interesting one to know. Gavin says, love you, man. Love Dublin City, but for fuck's sake, always Roscommon has to go to Croker to play Dublin. It's ridiculous. 2018, 2019, 2023, and probably again, unless some loud miracle. Yeah, look, it's, you know, like even as a Dublin fan, you know, I'd rather play Roscommon away and then maybe get Cavan at home or something. Then again, it's great for Cavan, isn't it, to get a home fixture. Gavin also says I got half and half Cavan Roscommon top for my 18s back in 2020, but at least I get to wear it. But this loses integrity though, because a team might try and lose. Yeah, maybe so. Mayo, Donegal, and Derry could all be in the same group. Yeah, that would be absolutely tasty. Westmeath were apparently in the group of death last year, and they performed well. Yeah, they did. They nearly got out of that. So Westmeath won't fear anyone. But it's mad though. Like, you're going to have Westmeath coming in on the back of losing to Wicklow in the championship, and then like their first game is going to be against, who's going to be against again? The Ulster runners up. So their first game, you know, is going to be either Donegal or Armagh. I think in a neutral venue as well. So yeah, that is a tough one right there for a Westmeath perspective. In fairness, you know, but yeah, look, it is interesting. You know, like, I mean, like, just looking back at it again, some potential ties you could have. The Connacht winners against Derry will be very interesting. As a spectacle, obviously, with the group one side being at home, or the seed one teams being at home. Kerry versus Monaghan potentially. You could have Donegal versus Tyrone all over again. You could have Armagh versus Tyrone potentially as well. So look, there's a lot of very interesting games that have been thrown up there. And yeah, like, I think as a Dublin fan, which I would expect us obviously to beat Louth, barring any miracle, I'd probably rather Mayo, just because I think it would be a better spectacle. there's a lot more history in that fixture. I think the attendance and the crowd will be much bigger. But again, where is that neutral venue going to be? That's going to be interesting to see. Connacht winners get the group of death every year. I feel sorry for Westmeath too. We, Kerry, won't be tested going into Croke Park. We could get Donegal or Derry and get totally shell-shocked. Yeah, look, when you look at Kerry's route through, like playing Cork, playing Clare, and then obviously coming up against Monaghan, Meath, and Louth, it's a very straightforward route through to a quarter final. Are they going to learn too much? It's hard to know. But as we saw last year, though, like a lot of the foregone conclusions weren't in the end. There was a lot of games in there that were a lot closer than people anticipated and people expected. So it's not exactly a foregone conclusion, in fairness. And Mikey was asking the question there, where would Dublin's neutral venue versus Galway Mayo be? And I've no idea, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like actual neutral venue would probably be like Portlaoise maybe, or Cusack Park, Westmeath. But are those venues going to be big enough for Dublin Mayo? I don't know if they would be. But then again, that's they're kind of the only solutions really. Unless you, I don't really know. Like, I mean, if it's Dublin Mayo, do you just go with Pearse Stadium or something like that? That's a little bit too close to Mayo, maybe. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Like, not too late to change your prediction and call it Kerry All-Ireland. Derry won't make the quarterfinals. There we go. I think Derry will make the quarterfinals. I think. I think they'll make the quarterfinals. I'd nearly fancy them to get out of that group, to win that group as well, just because they've been not necessarily sitting on the couch, but they've just been waiting in the lurches until this group comes along. But yeah, like looking at it there, like maybe I suppose some other neutral venues like the Munster winners, the Leinster runners up, so Kerry Louth. Where's that game gonna go? That's gonna be interesting to see. Probably Parnell Park, maybe. Could Parnell Park be a viable option for Kerry Louth? I'd love that personally, as someone who lives very close to Parnell Park. I'd definitely go to that. Could be an option. Newbridge maybe could be an option if they finally open it, but doesn't look like they will. Ulster winners versus the Munster runners up. So it depends really there, like Armagh, Clare, Donegal, Clare. You'd have to go smack bam down the middle. Maybe a Portlaoise or something like that. Leinster winners, we were discussing that. Connacht winners, Ulster runners up. Like, there's too many variables there. They're not really a sure thing like some of the other ones. Galway versus Armagh. You wouldn't know. Galway versus Armagh was in Carrick and Shannon last year, wasn't it? They could do the same again, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting ones. Clare versus Armagh, Donegal, Semple Stadium for Mayo, Dublin. I was thinking south, in fairness, but it is quite a distance from Mayo to travel down and then Dublin to travel down. It probably doesn't make sense, but I would be all for it. Like even Páirc Uí Chaoimh, I think, would be a great venue for Mayo, Dublin. Would it make sense for both sets of supporters to be traveling down? Maybe not, because it is quite a distance for both, but I'd be all for it. I'd definitely be all for it. Tom says McHale Park for a change. Yeah, look, if maybe they just completely switch it, but it will be the pot 1 teams against the pot 3 teams at home. So Dublin Roscommon will be the one there. I'll just go back over the Tailteann Cup again for those who didn't see it. So I think it's similar here in terms of the neutral venues and everything else. So Kildare, Leitrim, Longford, Waterford. And for people who don't know as well, it is the 3 teams from each group who get out. But in the Tailteann Cup, it's the best placed 3rd place teams. So Kildare, Leitrim, Longford, Waterford. At this moment in time, I would go Kildare, Leitrim, Longford. I think in that order to all get out. Group 2, Sligo, Antrim, Wexford, Tipperary. I would fancy Sligo and Wexford to finish 1 and 2, but I think Antrim would finish 3rd. Group 3, a very interesting group there from Annalise, Wicklow, and Carlow. Again, you're just looking at those pot 4 or those seed 4 teams, and I just think they are too far away from the other sides in the Tailteann Cup. Like I couldn't see Carlow doing anything there. You would imagine from Annalise, Wicklow all get out. And Group 4, usually there's one third place team that doesn't make it out of group, and that could be the Group 4 team potentially, because Down are probably going to absolutely trash Limerick and London, because that's usually what they do when they play lesser opposition. And you would fancy Offaly to beat Limerick and London quite comfortably as well. But maybe an opportunity for London to be a third placed team. And let's not forget as well, New York are in this as well. They go into the preliminary round. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe a scenario if London finish in third where London could play New York. It could happen. Could happen. So yeah, interesting stuff there. A lot of the same fixtures as last year, which is annoying. Yeah, there probably is a few similar ones. O'Moore Park, Offaly for Dublin Mayo, maybe Large, and in the middle of the two. Could be, yeah, maybe Nolan Park mightn't be a bad one as well. Group 1 in Samagor, so hard to call. Going to be very interesting indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Like, we'll throw it back up there again. Like, I will do a group stage predictions when we know for certain who's in here. Maybe in next week or 2 weeks' time, once we know all the outcomes of the provinces and everything else. Albeit 2 of them are probably straightforward to predict. But look, Connacht and Ulster, do you know, it's not a foregone conclusion there. But like, you would be looking at a Group 1. Like, I couldn't really see Westmeath doing that in there. I could see Derry shaking it up and winning that group, to be honest. Connacht winners maybe second, Ulster runner up third. It's very interesting stuff there. Group 2, Leinster winners, Connacht runner up, Roscommon, Cavan. Cavan were very good against Tyrone. Like, would they want? It'd be good for them to get a Dublin game at home. But would they actually want the Dublin game at home? I think they'd nearly just rather play that at Croke Park, get it over and done with, get Roscommon at home, maybe have a chance of getting into third. But Cavan could do it, maybe. Cavan could do it. Even like Galway aren't looking very good right now. And let's say Mayo beat Galway comfortably. The first game up for Cavan would be against Galway. If Galway lose, then Cavan could get something from that. They could get something from that. If Sligo can nearly get something from Galway, then there's no reason why Cavan couldn't either. So, yeah, interesting there. Group 3, the Ulster winners, the Munster runners-up, Tyrone and Cork. Obviously, we'd imagine Clare would be in there. Be very hard for them to get out of that. Look, they beat Cork last year, so that would give them a bit of confidence. But you'd still imagine Cork to get back into the preliminary round. And Tyrone are very inconsistent. So I think Group 3 will probably be very, like, all over the place. Like, I think you couldn't be certain. The Ulster winners should win the group, but again, not a given the fact that Ulster teams have such an intense season and coming through the Ulster Championship and straight into the group stages. You could see a Donegal or an Armagh maybe run out of steam a little bit there. And then Group 4, look, we know Kerry are going to be there and they're probably going to win it. I think Group 4 is the group we actually already know, isn't it? It's Kerry, it's Louth, it's Monaghan, it's Meath. Kerry will win it, I'd say. Probably Monaghan second. I'd go Louth third, but Meath maybe could be in the conversation. So yeah, look, it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. Denise says Cavan will not make any progress without Paddy Lynch, unfortunately. Yeah, that was a very unfortunate injury for him. So yeah, that is a massive, massive blow in fairness. Shannon El Clasico is back. Leitrim Longford. Yeah, those two teams, I'd say, are fed up with each other at this stage. Mikey says always good to see Louth and Meath cross horns again, opening weekend too. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is probably a debate between Louth and Meath fans as to which team is better. Do you know, like Meath beat Louth in the league this year, but Louth beat Meath last year. I think it is them two who are, like, you obviously have Dublin who are the best team in Leinster, so that's without question. But I think Louth and Meath are the next in line, if that makes sense. So it'll be interesting. That's kind of like Leinster's runners-up battle, in my opinion. But yeah, could see Monaghan going out. Yeah, it could be possible. Paddy Lynch is like Cavan's David Clifford. Sadly, can't see Cavan get out without him. going to be tough. I don't know where Thomas Gallagher is knocking about, but could Raymond give him a call? Obviously, with them being related and everything else. Then again, I think he's probably traveling or something, isn't he? But if you get him back just for the group stages, maybe he could soften the blow. But it's probably not going to happen there. Such an influence to their recent success he is. It's Dublin and then everyone else in Leinster. No one else near. Yeah. No, look, that is completely through. But in terms of clutching at straws, obviously, but in terms of who is the second best team, I think Louth and Meath are, second and third respectively. So at least they can battle it out for who finishes second and maybe finish in third. And who knows what could happen. But so yeah, we'll go through it one last time before we finish up. Group 1, Kildare, Leitrim, Longford, Waterford. Group 2, Sligo, Antrim, Wexford, Tipperary. Group 3, Fermanagh, Laois, Wicklow, Carlow. Group 4, Down, Offaly, Limerick, London. All-Ireland Championship. Group 1, Connacht winners, Ulster runners-up, Derry, Westmeath. Group 2, Dublin, Connacht runners-up, Roscommon, Cavan. Group 3, Ulster winners, Clare, Tyrone, Cork. Group 4, Kerry, Louth, Monaghan, Meath. So that is how we have it there. Park Kerry, the rest of the group is even. It is. It definitely is. But yeah, look, we'll do a Tailteann Cup predictions video in maybe next week at some stage, and we will predict the entirety of the Tailteann Cup now that we know for certain who is in it. And yeah, I'll probably do a group stage predictions video as well, maybe when we know for certain as well who's obviously in that and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, anyone who's tuned in, let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on the draw. What are your thoughts in terms of certain teams coming up against each other? There probably are a lot of similar games potentially than last season. But yeah, do let me know in the comments your thoughts on the games. Just finishing up here, BMW says, is it the top 3 to go through? It is, yeah. So it's the group winners go straight into the quarterfinals. And obviously none of them can play each other. And then you have the second place teams versus the third place teams. And the second place teams will be at home. So that is how it works. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And we will speak to you all again.